Hello, my name is Sydney Moyer, and this is my Sped Field Experience narrated presentation video. For my field placement, I was placed at Lampeter Elementary School, which is located at 1600 Book Road, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I visited a second grade classroom on November 2nd, November 9th, and November 16th, and I was there each day from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. For my field placement, I normally wore outfits similar to those in the pictures below. My outfit normally consisted of dress pants or a dress and a blazer or long sweater and dress shoes. For my 3 weeks at Lampeter Elementary School, I shadowed Mrs. Kimberly Hogan's second grade class. While I was there, the students had math, reading, writing, and spelling. Along with that, they also had a special per every day I visited. While I was there, they went to a music class, an art class, and they had a time where they could go to the library and learn about books and check out some of their own. In this slide, I just have a few pictures of the empty classroom just to show the setup and how everything looked. Overall, the class I observed had 23 students. I was told that none of the children in the class had a disability, but I'm going to talk about what I observed and how I think some of the things they did could be put into a special education classroom. 60% of the class I observed were girls. The other 40% were boys. 87% of the class was Caucasian. The other 3 were Hispanic or African American. The entire class consisted of all 7 or 8-year-olds, and they were all in the second grade. One of the things that the classroom used were iPads. The students used them pretty often. They were used for the students to read, complete assignments, or play educational games. They were normally used when the class was split into groups. They were good for students to be able to put in their headphones and just concentrate on what they were doing and focus on the assignment that they were given. A cool thing that I observed in the classroom was the teacher had these folders that she called offices. The students would use them for quizzes or tests, and they would all grab one and place them around their paper so that other students couldn't see what they were writing. It also helped the students focus on the work that they were doing so they wouldn't be looking around, and it helped prevent other students from looking at their answers. A smartboard was used very often in the classroom. It was almost constantly turned on. It was used to show examples to the children to help them understand. It was used as a timer, so there was constantly a reminder of how much time the students had left to do what they were doing. It put instructions on the board, which made it available to the students longer. They knew what they were supposed to do without having to ask the teacher to repeat what she said, and it made the instructions clearer. Another material that I thought was very helpful was the fact that the teacher had a lot of books available for the students. There was always a large variety, and there were a lot of opportunities for them to be able to go and choose a book and just sit down and read. It would happen a lot when students would finish the work that they were doing if they were in a group or if the entire class was working on something. If they were finished, they were allowed to go over and pick up a book and read. I thought it was nice because there was never a time where they weren't doing something. It always gave them a chance to be involved and to learn. Something that I was involved in a lot in the classroom were the students' tests and quizzes. If a child had missed an exam because of being absent, or they needed more time, or they just needed assistance overall in taking the quiz, they would be sent out into the hallway with an adult, so either myself, a teacher's aide, or a parent of one of the students in the classroom. And what I observed from looking at the quizzes was that some of them had questions crossed out, or sometimes answers of questions crossed out, or there were hints on word meanings. I was also there to answer any questions the children had about their quizzes, if they didn't understand a word or what a question meant. Some of the quizzes were read aloud to children individually. If they didn't understand the questions, they were read slowly so they could understand what the question was asking them. And other students were sent out in the hall to have more time. Sometimes if the classroom was too distracting for them or they didn't know the answers, they would just sit there and stare at their tests, and this gave them more time to concentrate in quiet. Another tool that was available in the school were pods. These were placed all over the school in different sections. The picture that is shown on this slide is not actually a pod, but it is set up very similar to one. The pods were out in the hallways and they had circle tables just like the one shown with chairs around it, and they were places where children could go if they needed extra time. It was normally quiet unless a small group was using it, but it was also good for them because it gave them a chance to be away from the full classroom and focus individually on what they needed to know. It gave them a chance to ask questions or have their work reviewed by somebody besides the teacher, so they could get hints and help without feeling the pressure of having to ask the teacher all the time, especially if the teacher was involved with a long line of other students. Multiple times a day, students were organized into their small groups. They were given fun names like cherries, fudge, sprinkles, and peanuts, and each child knew which group they were in and what other kids were in their group. This group gave the children more of a chance to talk, to ask questions, and get one-on-one help because the students would rotate in a 15 to 20 minute time period, and they would be able to work on work or go to a spelling lesson or work with the teacher, ask questions, do anything. But these were scheduled multiple times a day where the teacher would just have them get into their organized groups and work and learn and all kinds of things. One thing I observed was certain students got individual help. A lot of one-on-one time was only given to a select few students. These students would either not finish their classwork or tests, or they would not attempt them at all whatsoever. When the rest of the class finished, the teacher would normally send the student or students out into the hall, where they would complete the work with help. I asked about this, and the student either couldn't understand one of the first questions and wouldn't attempt any of the others, or they were so distracted being in the classroom that they couldn't concentrate until they were brought where it was quiet and no other students were there to distract them. In my life, I have worked more with individuals with disabilities than I did during my field placement. In the past, I have babysat children with learning disabilities, and I have volunteered with Schreiber Rehab Center. I observed a lot more there than I was able to during my placement. I did really enjoy my experience, though, and it showed me more into the life of a teacher, but not a special education teacher. At this moment, I still want to teach special education. That has not changed, but I hope to observe a classroom that has individuals with disabilities before that. This experience hasn't really impacted my beliefs and knowledge regarding special education specifically. I really enjoyed it, but I would still like to observe more. I did find a lot of things the class did interesting though, and I would like to incorporate things like small groups, one-on-one work, and possibly modifying exams into my future classrooms.